Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be truly and well served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we'll go straight to item 3. Correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We will start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Saturday, 20th March 2021. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 27th sitting of the first meeting of the first session held on Saturday, 20th March 2021 are adopted as the true records of proceedings. Yes, Honorable Minority Deputy Whip.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, before we proceed, I just want to bring the attention of the House under Order 53 to an issue which is of very much importance to the welfare of this institution. Mr. Speaker, it is in connection with the Constitution of the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, this is the House of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, which has oversight responsibility on the executives. And Mr. Speaker, many a time we chastise the executive for not constituting boards of certain corporations or agencies. And we always exert pressure to make sure that those boards are constituted. Mr. Speaker, if you come to the Parliament of Ghana, not forming the Parliamentary Service Board will be a serious breach of the Constitution of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, and I want to come under Order 124B, which says that there shall be a Parliamentary Service Board, which shall consist of A, the Speaker as chairman, B, 4 other members, all of whom shall be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with the advice of a committee of Parliament. Article 124. Mr. Speaker, Parliament is a creature of the Constitution. And the Constitution says there must be a Parliamentary Service Board. And Mr. Speaker, you've been given the mandate to constitute this board. This is the 8th or 9th week of the meeting of this House. Mr. Speaker, this board has not been constituted. However, we are going to be chastising the President and the executives for not constituting boards of corporations. Mr. Speaker, he who preaches equity must come with clean hands. And I think that not forming this board will be perceived as a serious constitutional breach. Mr. Speaker, and as a creator of the Constitution, we must not be doing things that will be seen or perceived to be breaching the Constitution itself. And Mr. Speaker, a case in point is where in this country, at a point, the Auditor General was accused of procuring certain vehicles and not forming the audit board. Parliament was accused of not presenting our nominee for the formation of the audit service board at that time. Mr. Speaker, it was discussed nationwide. And this thing that is happening in this House, Mr. Speaker, can be used against us. I don't know what is obstructing Mr. Speaker from not appointing the other members together with the leadership and the clerk to constitute the Parliamentary Service Board. For I know that the committee that should advise the Speaker was constituted by this House. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, when you go to our standing orders, the recommendations of the committee must come in the form of a report. We may be adjourning maybe next week. And when we adjourn next week, we may be coming back in the middle of May. Mr. Speaker, if this board is not constituted, and we happen to adjourn on the 31st of this month, and go and we are to come back around May, meaning for a whole half year, Parliament will be operating without a Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, meanwhile, there are key institutional arrangements that this board should come to do. So I think it's a serious issue that should have done first before we proceeded even with this work. Mr. Speaker, I want to end by saying that this House, the leadership of which me myself I'm a member, must do whatever is possible to assist you to form the Parliamentary Service Board by Friday. Yes. If that is not done, Mr. Speaker, how will the public perceive us? Yes. Then how can we run after the executive and the president and chastising her for lack of corporate governance and other things. It's a serious issue, and it's a breach of Article 124 of the Constitution, and this House must not take it lightly at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I end my rendition here.
Yes, the majority side.
Speaker, with your kindness, I think my good friend, the Honorable Minority Chief Whip, has hit the nail right on the head. I agree with him. It should be dealt with. It's not a matter that we should belabor. And he quoted relevant sections, article of the understanding orders, and he's spot on. But the point has to be made that the motion was moved and carried, and the committee was formed to advise Mr. Speaker. Let's also recognize that, and I'm happy you brought in leadership, we recognize that it is the minority, both sides of the House, representatives from both sides of the House, that form the committee to advise Mr. Speaker. This matter shouldn't come to play the floor for discussion. It should have been dealt with our conclave. It's just unfortunate that the two leaders, both the minority leader and the majority leader, were involved in committee duties and as a result were unavailable to be part of conclave discussion. If you look at the processes that have gone on in this Parliament, even the formation of committees, we had a bit of challenge. If you look at the timing and what we have been used to as a convention and practice, there has been a bit of delay. I'm not justifying what has happened, but this is a matter that could have been dealt with without necessarily being brought up onto the floor. I will appeal to Speaker, and in this House, we are at your direction, Speaker, in such matters, so that we nudge leadership accordingly, particularly the committee put in place to hasten and work accordingly as both sides of the House and bring this matter to conclusion. I don't think this is a matter that we should drag, and it's a matter that we should bring closer to it as soon as possible. I know, Ahmed, that as he rightly captured, that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. We, more often than not, are quick to criticize the executive. We must lead by example, and we should be seen by setting very good example when it comes to such fundamental and basic functionalities. We cannot be lost on that. So I agree with him, but I just want to plead with him that let leadership, particularly the committee, sit as soon as possible and resolve this matter without necessarily bringing this matter to the floor of the House. I think it should be dealt with, and there should not be any difficulty resolving this matter as soon as possible. So I'm just calling for calm, so that both sides, both leadership of the House, can resolve this matter as soon as possible. Thank you, Speaker.
Well, I think Honorable Bauer was quick to rise earlier than you. Yes, let me listen to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think that if you look at Article 124, the function of the Parliamentary Service Board, it says that, that's 5, the Parliamentary Service Board shall, with the prior approval of Parliament, make regulations by constitutional instrument prescribing the terms and conditions of service of the officers and other employees in the parliamentary service, and generally for the effective and efficient administration of the parliamentary service. If you look at the role of the Parliamentary Service Board and how critical it is for the operations of Parliament, it is simply not acceptable that as we speak now, we do not have a board in place. And if you look at the people who form the Parliamentary Service Board, most of them are either office representation, because, for example, we have the clerk, we have Parliament, the Speaker, and of course, 4 people who are supposed to be appointed by the Speaker with advisement. The critical thing here is who does the appointment and who ensures that the people are there. So it means that, from all indications, we have a clerk of parliament. We have a speaker. The challenge we have has to do with the other four who are supposed to be appointed with the advice of, the parliamentary committee. Mr. Speaker, I think that's a matter of agency. It is important that, and remember that the committee is advisory. The committee is advisory. And so it is important that, Mr. Speaker, for the efficient running of this particular house, and of course the whole parliamentary service, it is important that by the close of next week, we should have a parliamentary service board in place. We cannot, for the life of myself, to think that we have capable people who can advise the Speaker, and the Speaker with your experience, Mr. Speaker, for about 28 years in Parliament, you know exactly the sort of people who can be in the committee, on the board, that will serve the interests of, Parliament. So I want to agree with Honorable Ahmed when he indicates that it is a matter of agency, and that, if it is even possible, Mr. Speaker, let Parliament hear that at least by Friday, we have a board in place that is supposed to go on and do all the things that we are supposed to be doing. Call by Honorable Ahmed is in the right place. And yes, Honorable Anodompe indicates that leadership is working with Mr. Speaker to see how this thing is done. But it must be done immediately. And at the end of the day, the role of the committee is advisory. The onus lies on you, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we have a board. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think a lot has been said already, and I just want to emphasize the fact that we in this House, as a Parliament, in terms of the constitutional matters, must set a very good example for the other organs of government to emulate. And so, where the language of the Constitution is so clear and unambiguous, and where Parliament has indeed taken the steps that we are required to, which is to set up the committee to advise on the appointment of members of the Parliamentary Service Board, and yet the appointment is not taking place. We in this House may be interested in understanding what is frustrating, because so far as we are concerned, Mr. Speaker, this Parliament has set up the committee. And this Parliament is assuming that the committee has done its work. This Parliament has elected a Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, and this Parliament has a clerk in office. Exactly what is it that is frustrating the process of appointing or nominating and approving the 4 other members that must be appointed by Mr. Speaker? So, Mr. Speaker, again, ultimate responsibility in this matter lies in you, because you are the one that the Constitution says should appoint, but on the advice of this committee. This House has appointed the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, what is frustrating you? What is making it impossible for you to appoint the members of the Parliamentary Service Board? Mr. Speaker, there are people who have been invited for interview, recruited into the parliamentary service. They have gone through the interview process, but they are being told that they are unable to be recruited because there is no Parliamentary Service Board to process their appointments or recruitment. And so there are very important matters. And indeed, apart from the members of Parliament, the rest of the staff, starting from the clerk to the rest of the personnel of Parliament, their welfare and well-being is to be regulated and catered for and managed by the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, the procurement of goods and services to make sure that this House actually functions is a function of the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, so if there is a frustration preventing you from doing so, let us know as a House, so that the committee members that we in this House voted and approved to carry out this function may be duly sanctioned by this House.
We can change them.
We can change them, Mr. Speaker. We can set up a new committee, and we can give them timelines within which the advice must get to your desk. Mr. Speaker, this House must not condone any conduct that undermines the capacity of the Speaker to carry out his functions. Mr. Speaker, I think that you yourself owe us an explanation. What is frustrating you and preventing you from carrying out your functions, so that we in this House can take appropriate remedial measures. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I don't think that this is a matter that should take a lot of our time. The constitutional clear. The Parliamentary Service Board is made up of 6 members. 2 have been identified by the Constitution. The Speaker as chair and the clerk to Parliament. 4 others are to be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with the advice of a committee of Parliament. It's not in consultation with, it's not acting with, but acting in accordance with the advice of a committee of Parliament. And the judicial interpretation of this phrase, clearly I cannot proceed to appoint if I don't receive the advice from the committee of Parliament. That is the frustration. Your committee has so far failed and refused to advise the Speaker. I have followed up on several occasions for the advice, and as of today, the advice is not yet before me. And so I have been contemplating or proceeding to appoint, and then your committee or you yourselves could then take me to court to say that I don't have that authority. But we need to have the Parliamentary Service Board in place. There are a lot of things that are pending, and we need on them because of the absence of the Parliamentary Service Board. And so I'm happy that you have raised it today. The ball is back in your court. Your committee hasn't given me any advice. I don't want to go on a confrontational discussion with Parliament. I am not a member of Parliament, and so I need you to be able to function. You may need to go back and consider the committee that you set up, or put pressure on the committee to submit the advice of the House on who those members are. Then I'll proceed to do the appointment. We'll inaugurate the board, and then we'll proceed to work for and on your behalf. So please, this is where the challenge is. Your committee has so far not rendered the advice to Mr. Speaker so that I could act in accordance with that advice. That is the stage we've reached. And I agree that the advice should reach my office on or before Friday this week. Failure to receive that advice, Mr. Speaker will proceed to interpret it as an attempt to obstruct the Speaker from performing his duty. And Mr. Speaker will proceed to do what Mr. Right. And anybody who challenges it, the courts are there. You are at liberty to do so. And so let's end it here and let's proceed to do other matters. Thanks so much. I've been informed that a number of you are at the committees considering the estimates of various sectors, and that we cannot do much business except taking statements and other private members' issues. So I've admitted a number of statements, and I want to call on a number of members to make those statements today. In fact, today is the World Water Day. And so I have two statements from two members of Parliament on that. And then there are some urgent issues that have been pending for some time now, issues of traffic congestion and accidents all over the country. Some members have presented statements on that. And so I want us to start with the statements on the accidents and the traffic congestion, then end up with the statements on the water, the World Water Day. The first member to have a bite is based on the date of submission of the statements. Is the honourable member for South Tongue, Honourable Kobina Mensah Wayomi. It's an urgent call to improve road safety in order to minimize and prevent motor accidents on highways within the South Tongue district. So it's constituency specific. Honourable Member, you may do so now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me the opportunity to make this urgent statement calling on the Ghana Highway Authority to improve on all safety measures on the highways within the constituency, South Tongue constituency. Accra, Aflau, Sugakofe, Adidome, Ho, and Dabala Junction, Dabala Keta highways. In the number of speed ramps and other road safety signs at strategic points in towns within the constituency or district where these highways traverses is very critical for the prevention of avoidable accidents among various categories of users of the highway. Mr. Speaker, the police MTTD in Suakofe has provided me with the following statistics detailing the entire situation due to the absence of such adequate safety measures like speed ramps, etc. I wish to extend my gratitude to the police MTTD for the update as follows. Statistics of accidents which occurred in 2020. Total number of accidents reported, Mr. Speaker, 132. Number of vehicles involved are 131. Number of commercial vehicles are 81. Number of private vehicles are 50. Number of motorbikes were 65. Number of persons injured were 67. And number of persons dead were 24. Mr. Speaker, statistics of accidents which occurred just this year, 2021, tells us a very glorious picture. Number of cases reported are 26 to date, and number of vehicles involved in this accident are 10, and number of commercial vehicles involved are 10. Number of private vehicles involved are 4, and number of motorbikes involved are 21, number of persons injured 36, and number of persons dead are 9. Mr. Speaker, on the 28th of February this year, another avoidable accident occurred at a town called Nlesikwe on the Accra-Prao Highway, precisely southbound section, which instantly took the life of a motor rider, crashing his head beyond recognition. Mr. Speaker, that stretch on the highway, among others, and its numerous accidents necessitated a request for speed rounds from the Ghana Highway Authority, but yielded no response all these years. Mr. Speaker, simple safety measures on the roads, especially the highways, such as reflective road signs to aid night driving, other safety measures including zebra crossing within townships that are lacking non-functioning traffic lights due to lack of maintenance, contribute to most of these unfortunate accidents. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this call on the Highways Authority to act expeditiously on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We take the second statement on the same issue. It's also constituency specific, from the Honorable Dr. Kingsley Nyako, the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, is on statement on the impact of traffic congestion on the Ghanaian society. If the Honorable Member is available, he may do so now. Yes, Honorable Doctor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to the impact of traffic congestion on the Ghanaian society. Right Honorable Speaker, traffic congestion has been a major issue in countries, especially cities and urban areas where commercial are concentrated. Traffic congestion, as a result of its debilitating effects on societies, economies, and individuals, has received a lot of attention in the literature. Example, Abani 93, Rosenblum 78, under 2014. Researchers, example, Thompson and Boo 2002, Abani 1993, knowing the implications of traffic congestion on society, have devoted resources, time, and energy to unravel the antecedents and consequences of traffic congestion in our societies. Mr. Speaker, empirical research and anecdotal reports clearly show that if nothing is meaningfully done to address the problem, we will be creating an irreparable damage to our country with dire consequences on posterity. Mr. Speaker, Rahane and Sahaka 2014 have defined as the way the movement of vehicles is delayed by one another because of limited road capacity. Rahim et al. 2015 have indicated that traffic congestion occurs when the demand for traffic nears or goes beyond the limits or strength of the road network. The Speaker, in their study conducted in Accra, Japan and Odo 2018 indicated that bad attitude of drivers, traders, pedestrians, road traffic crashes, and poor road designs were the main causes of traffic congestion in the country. They observed that this leads to decreased sales and productivity and induces stress as well. According to Weisbro et al. 2001, traffic congestion happens when the number of vehicles using a roadway at the same time and the volume of vehicles on the transportation exceeds the capacity or limit of the system. Honorable Speaker, late March 2013 has observed that when the transportation system collapses due to traffic congestion, the financial planning of the transport system increases because it has to provide mitigating measures such as widening of roads and construction of interchanges for the smooth flow of traffic. Mr. Speaker, permit me, our former presidents, and more especially our current president, for building interchanges to ease traffic congestion in some major cities of the country. The major interchanges being built are Popiase, Tema, Obechebe, Lamte Circle, and Tamale by the President Akufo-Addo government, the traffic congestion in those areas. It is my expectation that interchanges are built at Anuga Junction, Swami, roundabout, and other parts of the Ashanti region to ease traffic congestion and open up the region for more socio-economic development. Mr. Speaker, permit me to focus on the following consequences of traffic congestion that can adversely affect the country if not timelessly addressed: societal economic consequences and the person or individual consequences. Mr. Speaker, first is the impact of traffic congestion on society. According to one et al. 2009, started in Venkataya et al. 2018, the major external cause of transport are traffic congestion and road accidents, which oblige transport policymakers to aim at ameliorating their impact on society. Their results reveal that traffic congestion affects people's lives as they must leave their homes very early in the morning and reach home very late in the evening. Honorable Speaker, this situation is not different in our country, as workers have to resort to this unfortunate practice so that they can report to work on time. Mr. Speaker, Elizongo 2013 have also observed that in Dar es Salaam, a lot of students drop out of school, partake in illicit drugs, and involve themselves in sexual activities at their early years because their parents spend a lot more time on their roads than at home as a result of traffic congestion. Traffic congestion also causes accidents due to drivers' impatience and attempt to get through the congested roads than others. Mr. Speaker, the second is the impact of traffic congestion on the economy. Several studies, example Lu et al. 2009, Balfour 2010, have established a strong relationship between transportation and productivity in that a well-established transportation system promotes economic development. However, Edenton 2006 avers that traffic congestion brings about cost to a country's economy. In a study titled Hard Paper Number 1, The Negative Effects of Traffic Congestion to the Twin Cities and Minnesota 2020, it was estimated that the cost of congestion to the Twin Cities metropolitan area is $2.6 billion annually. In addition, Mr. Speaker, Choi et al. 2013 and Elizongo 2013 agri consumption and depreciation of vehicles increased due to traffic congestion, which make commuters spend a lot of money on fuel. Mr. Speaker, the third issue is the impact of traffic congestion on the person or individual, and this is very important. A plethora of literature has shown that traffic congestion contributes to the aggravation of environmental conditions, including air pollution. Some researchers have claimed that vehicular exhalations triggered by traffic congestion are the main causes of air pollution. The results also reveal that accidents put the lives of commuters in peril. Mr. Speaker, spending a lot of time in traffic has severe negative psychological consequences for passengers and drivers on our roads. The most profound psychological problem is the experience of stress, which has both short and long-term consequences on productivity and the general well-being of the citizenry. Several studies have traffic congestion induces a high level of stress and frustration in commuters, especially drivers, as they are required to be more attentive and focused while driving in challenging conditions. Mr. Speaker, Japan and Odo 2018 in their study observed that the experience of traffic-induced stress is a major challenge. Honorable Speaker, stress from traffic congestion results in frustration, which is likely to trigger aggression. This aggression may inadvertently result in traffic accidents, as commuters may be impatient in their attempts to maneuver their way to their destinations. The effects of this prolonged stress from traffic congestions are not limited to the road users, but extends to families at home, according to Nadra et al. 2019. Mr. Speaker, empirical evidence from Western countries have linked traffic congestion to family discourse and crimes, most especially domestic violence, according to Bellan and Brent 2018. This is because frustration from being in traffic more than necessary could arouse the emotional sensitivities of the individual, leading to displaced aggression. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, Kadaso, due to the ongoing road construction on the Tanoso-Obuaka Road, there was a severe traffic congestion from Apachapa Junction through Tanoso to Obuaka that has necessitated and encouraged petty trading on the road. The trading activities that involve mostly teenagers, children, and women are not only worrying. Example, the likelihood of their children dropping out of school, absenting themselves from school, likely poor academic outcomes, but put their lives in harm's way because they are more prone to the consequences of traffic congestion, such as accidents, diseases, and deaths. This following situation, Mr. Speaker, is found in most suburbs in the Ashanti region and the country as a whole. We need to find an antidote to it. Honorable Speaker, evidence in developed countries where effective public transport system shows that less traffic-induced psychological distress among commuters compared to the use of personal vehicles is the approach. Secondly, decentralization of our political, business, and economic activities to the various parts of the country could be useful. This is because most businesses, economic, and socio-political activities are centered in few urban centers, which contribute mostly to traffic congestions. Thirdly, if we cannot prevent traders from selling on our roads, Road Traffic Regulation 2012, LI 2180/117 Section 1 prohibits that. We should find dedicated roads where vehicles can conveniently park and allow passengers to buy some items. That is Road Traffic Regulation 2012, LI 2180/117 Section 2, in order to promote smooth vehicular passage on our roads. Fourthly, Mr. Speaker, is dualization of our inner city roads to facilitate smooth flow of traffic. Mr. Speaker, finally, is the education on the dangers of indiscipline, impatience, and lawlessness on our roads leading to traffic congestion. Relevant state institutions such as National Center for Civic Education, Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate, and National Road Safety Authority should do more in educating the citizenry and road users to be mindful of their safety on the road and the consequences of their actions on other road users. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, analyzing the issues above, it is abundantly clear that looking at the egregious consequences of traffic congestion on society, economy, and the person, we need to do all in our power to mitigate it, or if possible, remove it in order to ensure free flow of traffic and its positive impacts on the society, economy, and the individual. Mr. Speaker, it appears that our laws find solace in our books. They remain as enactments and are not enforced. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, if we cannot enforce our laws, especially the Road Traffic Regulation 2012-2180/117 Section 1, which prohibits trading on our roads, then we will be doing our country a huge disservice. I plead with the MTTD to exercise their responsibility by ensuring discipline, safety, and the smooth flow of traffic on our roads. Honorable Speaker, I'm eternally grateful to you for this unique opportunity provided me to make this statement. Thank you.
And now we listen to Honorable for Atebubu constituency. It's on the water crisis in Atebubu Township and its environs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity offered me to make this statement on the perennial water crisis that is affecting the socio-economic activities of the municipal capital of the Atebubu municipality and its environs. By extension, the whole of the municipality. Mr. Speaker, water, they say, is life because very survival, not only of human beings, but of all living organisms on earth, largely depends on water. More especially potable water in the case of human consumption. Water, Mr. Speaker, undoubtedly is an indispensable resource, and this is evidenced by the UNDP addition of access to potable water as a measure of human development. For the poor, access to water and sanitation, Mr. Speaker, UNDP considers as a prerequisite to achieving a minimum standard of health and to undertake productive activities. UNDP Human Development Report 2006, published by Lelila 2013. Mr. Speaker, the report further indicates that Without adequate, safe, and affordable water and sanitation, billions of people around the globe are unable to lead a healthy life and lack the ability to build a secure livelihood. Mr. Speaker, access to this basic necessity is a critical challenge for the inhabitants of Atebu, the capital city of the Atebu Amante municipality, and its suburbs. The city's small town water supply system, which construction was started in 1999 and completed in 2002 through a joint funding of European Union 90%, Government of Ghana 5%, and the Atebu community 5%. Mr. Speaker, the list said, has outlived its usefulness. This water system was designed for a population of 20,000. But Mr. Speaker, my recent checks at the Municipal Health Directorate and other relevant institutions indicate that the population currently is approximately 57,970. The city, Mr. Speaker, has also grown not less than 3 times its size when the system was constructed. Apart from the system being outwitted by the population and size, machines and equipment are now obsolete. The main transmission pipelines, for instance, often get broken when transmitting water from the headworks at the river through a distance of 27.2 kilometers in the overhead kilometers to the overhead tank in Atebu for onward distribution. Mr. Speaker, note that the frequent breakdowns only poses serious financial burden on the management of the system, but one of such breakdowns takes a long period, not less than a week or two to be fixed. Let me restate that, Mr. Speaker, the system, even in its normal working capacity, can hardly produce water for half of the population, the current population and size of the city. The Water and Sanitation Committee, WASAN, the management committee of the system, Mr. Speaker, due to their limited financial strength, cannot expand, operate, and maintain the system as expected. Mr. Speaker, they sometimes find it difficult to buy electricity credit to power their machines to produce water. Mr. Speaker, I must also state that the financial requirement for the system to be fixed and be operational goes beyond the financial strength of the municipal assembly. While the residents, Mr. Speaker, in order to find alternative source of water, largely rely on individual homes' hand-dug wells, nearby streams, duckhouse, and other stagnant water bodies. These sources of water dry up soon after the year rainy season comes to an end. Mr. Speaker, I am sure it will sadden your heart and many Ghanaians to note that in this 21st century, surface water is relied on to meet daily water needs of all kinds, including drinking water, without any form of treatment, leaving the residents obviously vulnerable to water-related illness and diseases. Mr. Speaker, the health dangers of this situation, I need not spend time deliberating on them, as they are well known to all of us in this august house. The crisis, Mr. Speaker, becomes more prevalent and expands from middle of November to the middle of June every year. That is, Mr. Speaker, half a year. The Municipal Assembly, successive members of Parliament from the municipality, private individuals, benevolent non-governmental organizations such as World Vision Ghana, over the years, and recently, Madame for Ghana Foundation, in an attempt to mitigate the crisis, Mr. Speaker, continue to apply some of their financial resources to drilling of boreholes, which is not yielding any positive results, as most of these efforts, Mr. Speaker, end up in complete dry wells, low yields, and in some cases, production of very salty water, which can hardly be of any good use. Mr. Speaker, the water situation, apart from the health dangers it poses to residents, affect every socioeconomic activities, not only in the municipal capital, but the entire municipality. Farming, Mr. Speaker, is the preoccupation of most of the people in Atebu Amantin. And during this long period of the crisis, farming activities are seriously affected. Traditionally, Mr. Speaker, responsibility of collecting water in most societies is on women and children. However, the water situation in Atebu is so enormous, Mr. Speaker, both male and female during the crisis period abandoned their farming activities in search of water. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, due coincide with harvesting, land preparation, and planting periods for especially yam, which is the municipality is well noted for. Mr. Speaker, during this period,
Honourable Member, you have to summarize.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, it is refreshing to note that Ghana is among the 193 UN member countries who signed both the Millennium Development Goals and Sustainable Development Goals, which Goals 7 and 6, respectively, takes access to clean water and sanitation as critical to achieving the 5 Ps. The situation, Mr. Speaker, is so daunting and needs an urgent government attention to save and make life comfortable for the inhabitants by the UNDP standards. Given that world leaders at SDG Summit in September 2019 declared between the year 2020 and 2030 a decade of action on the goals, Mr. Speaker, opportunity to call on government, especially Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, to consider, among other other measures, the immediate expansion of the Atebu water, small town water system, and the management entrusted to either Community Water and Sanitation Agency or Ghana Water Company Limited for efficient management to overcome the present water situation in the city. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
We have now the statements commemorating the Well Water Day. The first one stands in the name of the Honorable Comfordoyo Kujo. And then after her, we'll take another one from Roxanne Nelson Nafiamapo. Yeah, so Honorable Deputy Minority Leader, Deputy Whip of the Minority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Right, Honorable Speaker, I am grateful for this to deliver a statement on this year World Water Day. The World Water Day is celebrated by UN and its member states on 22nd March every year, 23, with focus on the importance of fresh water. The day has been set aside to celebrate the precious resource and raise awareness of the 2.2 billion people in the world who are living without access to safe water. Key focus of the day is also to support the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal 6, water and sanitation for all by 2030. Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year's World Water Day is Valuing Water, which seeks to provoke a conversation on what water means to individuals or group of people. Water means different things to different people. For the farmer who is breaking his back under the scorching sun, water means more yields. For the adolescent schoolgirl, it means hygiene. And for the household that live at Aminapa, Totope, Pute, Alavanyo, Fantevikope, and the rest, far away from fresh water, water is life. All these communities in Adan constituency that have been without fresh water for decades, however, through my initiative as their member of parliament, these communities now connected to potable water. But water does not flow. Mr. Speaker, but water does not flow. In the course of my duty on monitoring and evaluation, I was at Ghana Water Company to inquire on the reason. But they shifted the blame on stable electricity. So who is in charge? How did we get here? Mr. Speaker, the suffering of the people from this community due to lack of water is due to human error. Why are we so wicked to ourselves? Why should people suffer because of somebody's negligence? Mr. Speaker, it is only when we recognize the benefit of water that we can value it and safeguard it. The importance of water cannot be overemphasized. If for nothing at all, the world has witnessed the usefulness of water during this current pandemic, where regular washing of hands with soap under running water has become an essential measure of containing the spread of the viruses. But, Mr. Speaker, it will surprise you to know that about 60% of communities in Adan constituency have no access to water. Mr. Speaker, where did we go wrong? People from Totope, Ute, Alavanyo, Anyako, Kaja, Dechakope, Asibekope, Amlako, Kopehim, Lufenya, Kakichakope, Balekope, Batana, and the rest are suffering. The taps are there, but water is not flowing. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to draw our attention to the fact that we are only 9 years away from achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 6, water and sanitation for all by 2030. Looking at the data of 2.2 billion people in the world without access to fresh water, I would say we have a long way to go in providing this basic necessity to the people, especially to the rural dwellers in our country who have been deprived of these critical resources for so long. Mr. Speaker, I would like to use this opportunity to entreat all stakeholders, particularly the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, colleague honorable members of Parliament, as well as relevant organizations and individuals who make this a priority and deploy the necessary data in achieving this goal. I would like to acknowledge the good work Easy Water is doing in the island communities in Adan. I look forward to celebrate this day, World Water Day, again in 9 years with a new data showing that at least every household in Ghana has access to safe water. I thank you very much for the opportunity, Right Honorable Speaker.
The last statement is coming from Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo, also on the occasion of World Water Day. Then after that, we'll allow a few comments to be made, then we proceed. Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make a statement on the occasion of the World Water Day, an important day that the world needs reminded of its duty to humanity with the long-standing adage of water is life. Mr. Speaker, the 22nd day of March this year was set aside by the United Nations for celebration of World Water Day as a constant reminder towards the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 6, water and sanitation for all by 2030. Mr. Speaker, we are just some 9 years away from the target year of the SDGs. While in some parts of the world, water, an essential commodity, is on constant supply, providing a sound basis for the celebration of a day like this, parts of Africa remain challenged with access to good drinking water. Mr. Speaker, the World Health Organization Regional Office for Africa published some key facts on their website which made some interesting reading. And I present them, Mr. Speaker. In 2015, 91% of the world's population had improved drinking water source, compared with 76% in 1990. 2.6 billion people have gained access to an improved drinking water source since 1990. 4.2 billion now get water through a pipe connection. 2.4 billion access water through other improved sources, including public taps, protected walls, and boreholes. 663 million people, Mr. Speaker, rely on unimproved sources, including 135 million people worldwide depending on surface water. Globally, Mr. Speaker, at least 1.8 billion people use a drinking water source contaminated with feces. Contaminated drinking is estimated to cause over 500,000 diarrhea deaths each year. Mr. Speaker, by 2025, half of the world's population will be living in water-stressed areas. This is what the World Health Organization is saying. Mr. Speaker, some factors have been identified in Africa. Leah Rodriguez, in an article in October 2019, published online under the heading 4 Factors Driving the Water and Sanitation Crisis in Africa, identified 1, access to water, access to water supply and sanitation, 2, sanitation gap, 3, emergencies, and 4, disasters and water resources. Mr. Speaker, under these 4 factors, her views are summarized to include the inability to separate human contact from human waste, the inability to tackle sanitation in a way that guarantees water safety, lack of rainfall in some areas and flooding in others that experience huge patterns of rainfall, as well as the lack of or the inability by governments to harness water resources to meet the rising demands. Mr. Speaker, the population of the world continues to increase. In Ghana, in addition to the growth in population, the rural-urban migration continues to compound the problem in our cities, increasing the demand for water. The available statistics from the Ghana Water Company presents that by the year 2001, urban water coverage in percentage terms stood at 56%, while rural coverage stood at 41%. By 2008, Mr. Speaker, 58.5% of the urban population had access to water, while 56.8% of the rural population had access to water. Mr. Speaker, these percentages increased to 63% and 64% respectively for urban and rural water coverage by 2012. The records, Mr. Speaker, as of 2015, both urban and rural water coverage increased to 76%, indicating some progress. However, Mr. Speaker, we have declined in urban water supply from 76% in 2015 to 68% in 2019. This, Mr. Speaker, can be attributable to the increasing population we are witnessing in our cities across the country. Coupled with this is the slow pace with which we are processing water for supply among our citizens. Mr. Speaker, moving from the generals to the specifics, I cannot conclude my statement without a focus on my own constituency in Southern. Mr. Speaker, in Southern, that even though we lie by the Volta Lake, we have no access to potable water. Mr. Speaker, these communities include Bachahwe, Baibome, Chate, Kaira, New Kaira, Tongo Ahon, Tongo Chita, Tongo Abui, to Parliament, Parliament Duga, Tongo Chajameni, Agodake, and Tongo Jakiti. Mr. Speaker, like I said, these are all communities that are without government potable water supply. Mr. Speaker, in commemorating this day, therefore, we want to urge government intervention in these communities in South and in other areas of the country. Mr. Speaker, we have targeted 2025 as a year of universal access to potable water in Ghana. If we are to go by these records, Mr. Speaker, we stand to miss the target, which is just 4 years away. We must therefore speed up in the fight and efforts in treatment of water supply for our people. In areas where it is difficult, Mr. Speaker, to ascertain and process running rivers for consumption, I recommend measures aimed at providing mechanized boreholes. Mr. Speaker, the critical issue that threatens us remains one of global warming. The changing climate has had a strong impact on all of us, and as a result, in order to ensure the sustenance of human lives, we must begin to protect water bodies and be sure that the activities that endanger water bodies, such as galamsey, illegal logging, amongst others, are tackled for our good. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable members may now make comments, and your comments should be as brief as possible. And so I'll start from here. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I rise to associate myself with the second presentation by Dr. Kingsley Nyako of Kwadaso constituency. Right Honorable Speaker, members of this House who knows Botiano English Yamam from will know why I'm associating myself with the statement. Traffic congestion in our country has a huge correlation with productivity in this country. And I'm happy that government has made significant intervention in the area of road construction to ease traffic congestion in our country. I'm also happy that the Minister for Roads is here because he's made significant statements in the run-up to 2020 elections that tolls that have become nuisance in the free flow of traffic will be dealt with. And in Kasua, Tuba Junction, the Winneba Road is a huge traffic-prone area that members who live in my constituency had to leave home as early as 5 a.m. to be able to get to this house on time. Not only members of parliament, but the business community for that matter. Right Honorable Speaker, I think that we must, as a country, continue the interventions to ease the traffic flow because it has its own effect on the national purse in terms of expenditure. And I'm happy once again that from Tema Motorway Roundabout to Aflao, the minister has given indication that construction of dual carriage of that road will begin soon, as well as Tema Motorway to Akosomo. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, human activities on our roads. If you go to the motorway, that's supposed to be an expressway, human activity is impeding traffic flow, even on our motorway. Same vein, people selling on our roads, making it very difficult for free flow of traffic. So the Speaker has indicated the amount of money the state loses as a result of this traffic congestion on our roads. I want to say that the call is in the right direction, that we must expedite action and take concrete steps to ensure that our roads are free for commuters, to ensure that businesses that had to use our roads, just-in-time businesses, will flourish to be able to make money and contribute significantly to the development of our country. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Members, I just indulge the honorable member now because I identify him as a first time. But those statements are constituency specific. Don't dilute the important statements. If you are commenting, comment in respect of those constituencies. The water one is general, but the one dealing with traffic congestion and accidents, they are constituency specific. If you want to talk about your constituency, please submit a statement. Don't dilute the importance of what they have submitted. Yes. Let me identify the honorable lady behind.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you for the opportunity to contribute to earlier statements made by senior members on the World Water Day. Indeed, an auspicious day. This day is very important because, as we all know, water is life. And it goes without saying that if we lose our water, that is access to clean water, we will definitely be losing lives. Right, Honorable Speaker, SDG Goal 6 talks about clean water and sanitation, but then it is also linked to Goal 3, which talks about health and well-being. Indirectly, it is also linked to Goal 4, which talks about quality education. In this case, communities or places where children have to walk miles upon miles in order to access water or clean and potable drinking water, it affects the quality of education they get because little time is spent on reading or learning. Most especially, right, Honorable Speaker, in the face of the pandemic, water became a very essential commodity. In fact, its usage was really emphasized. Where we have some communities that did not have water or access to potable drinking water and are struggling to have water to survive, there were communities that had little of it and was very difficult for them to be able to observe the protocols, the safety protocols, in order to avoid contracting the COVID pandemic. I also want to say that water means different things to different people, but generally, the word that water is life is very essential. The battle must be taken through the constituencies and the various communities. Therefore, I urge members to walk around in awareness in our communities to see where we do not have access to potable drinking water and see how we can support our communities to have access to potable drinking water. Let me also acknowledge some support from assembly members within my constituency in order to bring potable drinking water to some communities or electoral areas such as Nilawe, Niodablade, Okwebono, and Trebono. And I urge Ghana Water Company to continue to collaborate with the assembly in order to extend water supplies to communities that do not have it in the Krowa municipal constituency. Right, Honorable Speaker, right at the coastline of Krowa, we have a magnificent facility, and that is the water desalination plant. For some time now, the debate has been the cost of operating the plant. And the desalination plant turns water, it's a technology that turns water into, seawater into potable water for usage in homes. I bring it to the notice and attention of the House that when it comes to life, nothing is too costly. And I believe that we have to make sure that the facility a very good use for the benefit of the many people that lives within Krowa and its environs. I believe that we should not even debate it. If there are challenges in operating, I urge the state and stakeholders to look at how best we'll be able to make sure that we bring all heads or hands on board to make sure that the facility is well utilized. And at the right time, Right Honorable Speaker, because it's one technology of its kind, I invite the House and Right Honorable Speaker to see how the House can support in making it very operational. I also found out, Right Honorable Speaker, that over the years, many water bodies have died because they have not received the needed attention. And I believe that if we take water as a very significant part of our lives, our daily lives, of course, then we will be able to find solutions in bringing or making sure that our water bodies do not die just like that. If I'll give a very good example, there's this Blekese River that runs through to join the sea. And it's so beautiful that could have been developed for tourist even attraction. It meets the sea, but they do not join. Today, as I speak with you, so much waste has been dumped into the river or the lagoon, such that it is not able to flow. And when it rains, it causes a lot of problems to the residents around the water body. And I take this opportunity to further urge members who have water bodies within their constituencies, other stakeholders, to make sure that these water bodies are sustained. I also want to say, Right Honorable Speaker, that the whole use of water, women and children are very pivotal. And so if we are going to discuss finding solutions to the challenges that involve water, I think that women and children should not be afterthoughts. Right from the domestic usage of it to the commercialization of it, I think women and children should be very pivotal in capacity building and finding solutions. Right Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I once again want to call on the state and all stakeholders to walk around in awareness, because our people are struggling to have access to potable drinking water, and that should be a wake-up call to us. Those who have should be encouraged to make sure that we put it to good use and not waste it. You walk around with burst pipes and we don't care. I urge us to make sure that we all put our hands on deck to ensure Sustainable Development Goal 6 is met by 2030. I thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Honorable Lai Momo, hey, you're taking a long time in your comments. Please, let's all have a bite. Just 5 minutes, then we can move on. Minister, I'll acknowledge you, but not now. I want you to listen and take down notes, then you can be part of the summing up. Yes.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity given me to add my voice to the statement made by my colleague, MP for Kwadaso constituency, on the impact of road traffic congestion on Ghanaian society. Mr. Speaker, I also thank the maker for the statement. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement made us aware of the negative impact of road traffic congestion on the Ghanaian society. And he made mention of successive governments and their effort to construct interchanges, flyovers, expansion of roads to ease this road traffic congestion. Mr. Speaker, my problem is, as a nation, we are not able to enforce road traffic regulations. We can construct these interchanges, flyovers, and then expansion of roads, but still, these areas we can experience these road traffic congestions. For instance, when you are passing through the Adenta-Aburi Highway and you are getting to Medina Zongo Junction, the road is a dual road, and there is another road on the right side that leads to Medina. That road, Mr. Speaker, is totally blocked by traders. So those vehicles going through Medina, you have to join the main road leading to Adenta before they pass through, before the lane at the far end of the road, because the road is blocked. Sometimes it's saddening me to see this MTTD personnel stopping moving vehicles to ensure that people pass through the road to Medina Market before they allow the cars to move. And sometimes I ask myself, why is it that this flyover is constructed over there? Is it not waste of resources? Because there is a beautiful flyover constructed over there and people are not using it. And that road I'm talking about is also asphalted. And we know the cost of asphalt roads. And this road is abandoned and it's not been using because the road is blocked. So if, as a nation, we are not able to enforce these regulations, road traffic regulations, so that selling on the roadside and then allowing people to pass unlawfully on the road, we will still experience this road congestion. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the authority to ensure that these regulations are enforced on our roads so that we can ease these road traffic congestions on our roads. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The lady behind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the various statements made by our senior colleagues. I will want, first of all, to contribute to the statement by Honorable Woyomi and my colleague MP from Kwadaso with regards to road management with its congestion and attendant accidents and traffic causage. Mr. Speaker, it's true that we are having a lot of challenges on our roads, especially with regards to traffic. And in as much as we try to make do with what is there to ensure that we leave our homes and get back home safely, we cannot underestimate the implications of bad roads, broken down traffic lights, and non-existent traffic lights as very crucial sections in our cities. I'll give an example, Mr. Speaker, of the traffic light next door. The traffic light at the Osu Cemetery has been out of order for the past 6 weeks. Up and it was completely out. From last week, the amber light is the only one that shows. And all of us know what that could mean for us. We have 275 MPs traveling and crossing that junction every day to work and back home. All we keep doing when we sit in our cars is to pray that nothing happens to us, Mr. Speaker. I think it's high time that the city authorities begin to pay attention to some of these things that could cause human life and devastation to this country. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the Nungua barrier, where recently, I think in the last 5 years, we have one of our modern malls constructed, which is attracting a lot of traffic, linking it to the Tema port, where we have haulage vehicles traveling on that portion of the road every day. That junction, crucial as it is, has been without traffic lights for all these years. Traversing that junction is very, very difficult. You require all the attention that you can harness to get out of that stretch safe and sound. Mr. Speaker, the worst part is when you travel on that road at night and you have challenges with lighting. There are no street lights. And then you have everybody converging at the traffic light at the same time. Everyone wants to get home. So, Mr. Speaker, we are hoping that the city authorities will pay attention to that junction and provide traffic light to save lives and property on that road. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also associate myself with regards to the World Water Day. 22nd March every year has been set aside to celebrate water. And that tells all of us how important water is to our lives. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as Slovene says, pure water is the world's first and foremost medicine. Water is medicine. Mr. Speaker, in this country, as we are striving to meet the Sustainable Development Goals for water in the year 2030, we find that water is increasingly becoming inaccessible to the ordinary person in this country. Mr. Speaker, last week on my way to Parliament, as I sat in my car, I monitored the radio, Joy FM, and for 1 hour there was a discussion on water and water bills. Mr. Speaker, currently as we speak, water bills have jumped to unproportional levels in this country. Speaker after speaker on that show on Friday complained about how their water bills had increased by sometimes 500%. And all they got told by the Director of Public Affairs, the Director of Communication for Ghana Water Company, who was the expert on the show, was that they will investigate and revert. Every single caller got that refrain of they will investigate and revert. Mr. Speaker, very serious issues. That if people can't pay for water in this country, then clearly it's going to affect our march to achieving these sustainable development goals. Mr. Speaker, we will urge the Ghana Water Company Limited and the Ministry for Water and Sanitation to take another look at whatever that are causing everybody a lot of headache in this country with regards to the recent water bills that we are all receiving. If they do that and make water affordable, which it should be, then we can be sure that by the grace of Almighty Allah, we shall attain those sustainable development goals. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to make a contribution.
I'm sure the senior members will allow the first termers to let their light shine, please. No, you are middle benchers. You are not back benchers. Yes, the gentleman behind.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the matters. First of all, raised by my very good brother, Honorable Dapamoko, about water. And Mr. Speaker, I thank him because he just reminded me that today is World Water Day. Mr. Speaker, our water in Ghana is very expensive. Mr. Speaker, it's very important to realize that water is even expensive more than fuel. Something that is supposed to be life, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and that is why I cannot but thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for his approach in dealing with the Galamsey manners, because it is one of the main way of destroying our water bodies that is getting us have no water and having difficulties in getting water. Mr. Speaker, when you go to the rural areas, like my constituency, Mr. Speaker, for Timokwa, it is very difficult for students to get decent water to drink. Mr. Speaker, I would want to advocate that Water and Sanitation Ministry, Mr. Speaker, would want to invest into more boreholes in our schools and provide very nice water tankers.
Honourable members, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. I have to rush to do something now. First Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. And like I was saying, to invest in these water boreholes for our schools, especially in the rural areas, for our students to get water, decent water for that matter. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that the rural areas, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the roads, I just want to say that the urban sectors like Accra, Kumasi, and others, at least we have some decent roads that we're driving through. It should not be well managed. But I'm saying that go to rural areas where most of the roads that are given for constructions are even abandoned, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you talk about the cocoa roads, they are all abandoned, are not well constructed, and so you go to rural areas where there are many foodstuffs that are supposed to come to our cities. For food security, Mr. Speaker, are not able to come. Mr. Speaker, and so whilst we are advocating that our roads are managed well, Mr. Speaker, I would want to call on the road minister to take a look, a very good look at our roads in rural areas in order to get those roads well constructed, in order to get our food security assured. Cocoa, for example, is left to rot and all that. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe strongly that if we invest in roads in the rural areas, we would get some food security, and the people in our areas would also have decent roads to drive on and to travel on, so that our women will not be suffering when they are pregnant, for example, coming to hospital and all that. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much, so that our students in the rural areas will also get decent roads and all that to be able to get to school early and come back early. Roads in the urban center, very good, we should manage it well. But roads in the rural areas, Mr. Speaker, are not even constructed, they are not even more trouble, let alone managing it well. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is my first, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this matter. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member in white, behind.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by the second Deputy Whip on the World Water Day. Indeed, we all agree that water is life. And I would want to emphasize the causes of the danger of water scarcity and water stress in our country. As we speak now, one of the challenges we face as a country is the imbalance and mismatch between water production and the growing cities and urban centers of our country. So whilst we encourage the Ghana Water Company to produce quality water, we run the risk of water scarcity. As earlier contributor said, in line with sustainable water production, the past government invested in the desalination project, which sought to convert seawater to potable water. With the collapse of that facility, Mr. Speaker, water supply in the Eastern Accra corridor has been heavily challenged, to the extent that the people of Tema are facing serious water challenges. A visit to the Ghana Water Company indicated that the problem is with production. The levels have gone down and people are struggling to have water on a daily basis. Mr. Speaker, permit me to focus on 3 areas where we should watch as a country and where we should encourage stakeholders and institutions mandated to provide potable water to focus on. Number 1, it is a fact that we cannot control nature. And so for natural causes for lack of water, in as much as we cannot control it entirely, our attitudes and way of life must ensure that we protect the adverse, we do something about the adverse effect of natural causes of water scarcity. Number 2, increasing human consumption means that policymakers must focus attention on our communities that are experiencing citizens in order not to fail development goals set. And number 3, as I want to emphasize, overuse and wastage of water. Indeed, increasing population would obviously account for increasing demand for water. But let's pay attention to how much of potable quality water is used for activities that otherwise could have been done with grey water or marginally treated water in our country. An example is when we see some car washing bays where potable water that is meant for drinking or that could serve humanity better are used for other activities that do not require that level of treated water to do. I think that intentionality in these areas could save us as a country the danger of running into water scarcity. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to urge us as a House to ensure that the danger that water scarcity poses to nations. We are told that Libya, for example, is among the top 10 countries that have the risk of water scarcity in the future. And 2 factors that have been identified as part of their challenge is political upheaval and the inability to deal with natural causes that affect their water bodies. We do know that as a country, in the past, we've relied on subterranean water bodies like our lakes, bodies. But as we speak now, these subterranean water bodies are being polluted. Some are drying up because of our inability to protect the ecology. May I submit to the House in contributing to this statement that we must be intentional in protecting our water bodies and ensuring that the water we have reach the urban centers and that we use potable water to serve humanity and at least harvest grey water for other less important activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
I'm continuing Mr. Speaker's tradition and giving option to first-time MPs. Yeah? Let me come this so that everyone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. I'll allow each one of you 10 minutes to make a contribution. First-time members. 5 minutes is sufficient? Very well. So let me start from the very end, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is James Quayson, Asin North constituent. I would like to make a contribution to the World Water Day. I could not sit idle and don't have to say nothing about this water issue in Ghana, particularly in my constituent. I have to, Mr. Speaker, let you know that I single-handedly repaired about 35 boreholes in my constituent during the campaign, election campaign. The problem I find in Ghana generally is not about supply, it's about maintenance. My issue with most institutions is how they maintain the existing infrastructures. Ghana lacks absolute maintenance. Now, I'm giving a reason because when you come to these constituents, some of these boreholes were established back in 2000 under our late J.J. Rawlings presidency. Successive governments failed to maintain them. I was able to visit some constituents. Some of the boreholes were broken for the past 8 years, 6 years, 4 years. And there's existing district assembly. It confuses me, and I'm baffled sometimes to wonder who is in charge. Now, when you do explosion of all these boreholes, water systems, they function for a period of time. There might be some simple mechanism that is broken in this, and they will not fix it. Some cost only like 500 cedis, and it was abandoned for about 18 months. Some cost about 55 boreholes alone in my own constituent was broken. We did the feasibility studies and we start fixing them. We were able to capture about 35 of them. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm letting you know, and the rest of my members here, how we can work hand in hand with our district assemblies and get all these existing boreholes at least repaired to start off. Because we're calling for new water systems. We had to lay pipes into extend some water extensions to now some of our communities. We come 4 years later and get this done. Unfortunately, some of the water we use in Accra, the metropolitan area, is even cleaner than some of the waters they drink for basic chores like watering our grass, car wash, as my dad. Once you go to some of these remote areas, you wonder if they're also part of Ghanaians. The water that these kids are drinking will touch your heart. And you cannot sit idle and not do nothing about it. And you come here, you see a broken pipeline, and it's as if though there's no sewage maintenance people in the country. And it will just release the water as long as it will. These are some of the issues that as a country we should look at. That our maintenance system starts from the very top. I've been to some government institutions and I was told the elevator there is broken for like 12 years. They will abandon it and rather go buy something new. I don't know how the procurement system works, but this is an attitude that we should change, Mr. Speaker, that I'm calling on all of us to put some of the pressures on the institutions. Ghana has a very weak institution. We can do all we can in this as a house. But once we have a weaker institutions, they're not going to function. Everything rests on the member of parliament or the district chief executive. We cannot do everything. Let's try and empower our institutions. This way we can weave out some of the corruption as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute.
Yes, number 2.
Yeah.
Your mic.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. My name is Godfred Seiji Jesau, MP for Wa East. I just happen to be sitting on Honourable Jocelyn Tete. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to add my voice in commemoration of the World Water Day
is so important a day. Water is life. And I wish to add my voice in calling on governments, the private sector, the corporations, and other stakeholders that we must identify the fact that we may not be meeting the Sustainable Development Goal 6 in particular if we continue at this pace.
Honourable member, hold on. Honourable members, having regard to the state of the business of the House, I direct that the House sits outside the regular. Thank you. Now please continue.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I wish to add my voice to the fact that we have challenges of access to potable drinking water. We have challenges of maintenance of existing water systems, and we have challenges of climate change that is affecting dams and water impoundments and their holding capacity for water that has to be processed. And I therefore want to call on government and other related stakeholders to rededicate efforts to putting in place arrangements that can recognize this fact and double efforts to making sure that accessibility is improved, maintenance is improved, and also maintenance of the impoundments in direct response to climate change challenges are taken care of so that we can be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 6. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to specifically recognize challenges that the Honourable MP for Atebubu, Honourable Sanja Nanja, complained about in his statement of water accessibility in his constituency. I can relate to that very clearly because similar paradigm exists in my constituency, the Wa East, as well. We realize that the populations are increasing. As these populations are increasing, it appears the rate of increase is confusing our planning system, and our planning system is not up to date to be able to acknowledge that these populations and settlements are expanding in a way that we need to plan these services ahead of time. And so I wish to call on the local government authorities as well to sit up and make sure that we plan for settlements and populations that drift into these locations, especially for all the good things that these places attract. And so we should make efforts to look at what specifically we will do, what budget lines we will create for maintaining existing boreholes, for example, in such rural constituencies. What we tend to find in most budget lines, especially in annual action plans that district assemblies produce, is to see number of boreholes that they will drill, Mr. Speaker. We don't see maintenance of boreholes that are in these budget lines, and that may be a reason why we have these challenges, especially in the rural areas. And so I call on government to rededicate efforts to looking at this reality and put in place arrangements to attract them, to solve them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to propose that there are some stakeholders, including NGOs, that try to come in and recognize this fact, try to come in to support in providing and supporting access to water. But again, our tax regimes and so on are such that they become prohibitive for such organizations to be able to bring in equipment and machinery to be able to help. And I wish to call on government and other stakeholders, and particularly Parliament, to call to see what we can do in accessing these appropriation bills, especially for the relevant ministries, to see how we can get these elements, even this stage, so that we take advantage of this period to be able to make some changes and influence to the way these budgets are appropriated, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker,
I like to say that we have challenges all over, just like at Tebubu. We have similar challenges in my constituency, in most of the major towns and villages. And so I wish to call on people, including government and business community, to come in and support so that we can all be able to attain these sustainable development goal and get access to water, potable water coverage for everyone. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, I just want to also say that we can take digitalization as a government focus and see how we can directly relate that to the traffic jams that we experience on the road sector. And if I may, I know that the minister will have some plans to take advantage of that. But again, all of us must see it as a problem, and where we can have a logistics arrangement to make use of other ways of technology to be able to move people away from using the roads in practical terms may be able to help this. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Are you a first timer? Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, clean water is a basic human needs and by extension human rights. What is happening in Atebubu Amanten to me is unacceptable. In celebrating the World Water Day in 2018, the theme was Nature for Water. In 2019, the theme was Leaving No One Behind. As we speak, what is happening in Atebubu? Are we leaving the people of Atebubu behind? This world has got sufficient clean water for us all to enjoy. Mr. Speaker, over 3 million people in this country are still suffering, not getting water or access to clean water. As we speak at the moment, Mr. Speaker, a lot of people in this country spend probably more than 30 minutes trying to find water to drink. This is unacceptable. In 2021, this year, 2020, we said water and climate, or water and climate change. Mr. Speaker, if we truly want to tackle climate change, and if we truly want to have clean water, then what is happening again in Ghana on our water bodies is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, a lot of people, including the people of Nkranza, we have come to realize that in this country, we are spending a lot of money on urban water. And the challenge, the fact that we are not investing enough in the water sector, the fact that we are not planning well for this country in terms of water, I think we need to deploy proper infrastructure for us to have water or access to clean water in this country. Right Honorable Speaker, I think as a country, Atebubu, I used to live there when I was a kid. I had my baby at this Atebubu demonstration school. Mr. Speaker, it's sad to note that when I went back to Atebubu, what we used to do by taking David Brown, the old tractor going to Prime to fetch water, is still happening in 2021. I think it's hard time this country or the people of Ghana look back in Atebubu and support them what is needed for them to at least have clean water. We have to carry the people of Atebubu along. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I'm Richard John Mensah, Gomwa West. Mr. Speaker, I would like to contribute to the statement made by Honorable Woyomi. If we look at the current state of road accidents on our highways, becoming alarming. From the statement and the statistics he gave,
even just within this year, I think the number of people we have lost on the highways just at Southtown is very high. And if you have to look at it across the country, I believe that everyone here will share in his thoughts and discussion that we are making this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, road accidents on our highways, most of it happens on our highways in small communities. When you're traveling from Accra to Cape Coast, and you get to a community like Apam Junction, Chinikwanta area, these are very small communities with a high road accident recording every year. So once he has brought it for us to look at it, I'd want us to call the attention of the Ghana Highway authorities, such that when we get to say areas where we have recorded high road accidents, they can help with either ramps or rampal strips, especially where there are intersections. This is really killing our people, mostly in the rural areas. Also, Mr. Speaker, most of the accidents, even though we can attribute part to poor driving from drivers, sometimes to most of the highways we have a lot of potholes, which I think this year, once the Road and Highways Committee are also considering the budget, they should look at how best they can help so that such highways potholes will be filled. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to touch on the traffic, which Honorable Kingsley mentioned. If you look at the number of hours that we spend coming even to the chamber at 6 o'clock and get to the chamber or get to Parliament at 9 o'clock, Mr. Speaker, this is really hurting members of Parliament. And it's not only members of Parliament. Everyone, especially traders. Traders lose a lot of sales because they have to stay in traffic for quite too long. Mr. Speaker, the traffic congestion is also now bringing a new menace in our homes. If you leave home around 5 o'clock, you leave the children in the hands of either a house help or a younger relation to take care of them. You get back home very late because of road traffic on our highways. Mr. Speaker, we want the Ghana Highways Authority, as a matter of urgency, to consider putting in place effective means of helping easing the congestions on our highways so that parents can attend to their family without thinking about how they are going to be late going to work or going to the market or going to plow their trade. Mr. Speaker, typical of this that I have observed is on the Kasua Highway. This we cannot attribute it to the bad or poor nature of the road, but the toll booths. So the Road and Highways Authority, once again, they should look at pragmatic ways of getting their revenue, but also helping people not to stay in traffic for too long. Because now, because of the traffic, there's a new trend around that area. There are a lot of pubs being opened on the stretch. For you to stay in traffic for too long, maybe you have to pass by a pub and stay there for about 11 o'clock when you know that then the traffic is this. I don't think will be very good for Ghana going forward. So I am actually appealing that the best ways the National Committee can help the road and highways to help resolve these issues will really help us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statements made this morning on the floor of this House. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would want to first contribute to the statement on World Water Day. Indeed, water is a very, very important commodity, and as has already been argued, water is not only essential, but it is also a fundamental human right. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to refer the House to the General Comment number 15 by the Economics social and political right that adopted water, right to water, as a fundamental human right. And in Article 1.1 of that comment, it says that the human right to water is indispensable for leading a life in human dignity. It is a prerequisite for the realization of other human rights. Indeed, when we lose our right to potable water, that affects other fundamental rights. For example, right to life, right to good health, right to good environment. It has already been argued before or submitted before this House that over 3 million Ghanaians lack access to potable water. It has been said that in order to properly access this fundamental human right, then water must be sufficient, the water must be safe, it must be acceptable, it must be physically accessible, and it must be affordable. Speaker, as we speak now, water in Ghana is very, very expensive to those who even have access to potable water. It is my humble submission to this House that the cost of water would also deny people of that fundamental right to water. Right, Honorable Speaker, quite apart from that, there are many who don't even have access to this potable water. My colleagues have argued about access to rural water, but even when you come to the urban centers, right in Medina constituency, for example, you go to the newly developing areas like Aibe Town, you come to Site C, you go to Damfa, you come to Teman, Kweman, Aimensa, part of Oyarifa, Pantan Village, Adenta New Site. These are all places or communities within the capital city who lack water and access to potable water. So, Right Honorable Speaker, it is said that where there are rights, there are duty bearers. The duty bearer or the person responsible to make sure that every Ghanaian have potable water is the state, led by the government. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are calling on the government to help Ghanaians achieve this fundamental right by increasing budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, so they can work to make water, potable water, readily available to the people of Ghana, so that we can achieve the sustainable development goals in this regard. Right, Honorable Speaker, to bring my submission, my comment to an end, I would want to say that the issues concerning road accidents and road traffic congestion have been partly blamed on people who walk on the street and sell on the street. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit that it is for members in this House to recognize that it is not everyone walking around the street at the peril of their own life decides to do that just for doing sake. For most of them, they are only trying to survive. Right, Honorable Speaker, I remember myself on the street of the Graphic Road many years back, where I used to sell refresh on that street. Right, Honorable Speaker, I wasn't selling refresh on the street just because I wanted to contribute to traffic congestion. I only wanted to survive. And there are many people in our country today who are on the streets and wanting to survive just the day. What it means is that whilst we are advocating for rules that will clear up our roads, we must make sure that those processes or the are human-centered. We make sure that the various assemblies work with these stakeholders and get them alternative spaces where they can trade, so that we can clear up that road to ensure that we have safe road for all of us. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement.
Thank you, honorable members. That is the end of statement. Well, are you also? Very well. I don't remember seeing you when I was counting. Very well. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to relate to the water issues. And
So, Speaker, we always say that water is life. And in this country, if you take a critical look at the water situation, you would want to say that it's become a cliche, especially when you look at the situation in our rural communities. So, Speaker, statistics show that almost half in our rural communities lack access to clean, potable water. And this, Mr. Speaker, has been exacerbated by the activities of galamseyers and small-scale miners who have decimated the sources of water bodies that used to be sources of drinking water for most of our constituents, especially in the rural communities. And Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, for instance, the River Pra and the River Ofin used to be sources of good drinking water. Now, Mr. Speaker, you can't even use that water for any purposes. Yet, there is a facility in my constituency in the New Adjournment Township, which was started in 2014, which currently is producing over 500,000 gallons of water a day, which is in far excess of what the township alone needs. And Mr. Speaker, the expectation was that when that project was completed, the expectation was that successive governments would come and expand them. As we speak, the facility is sitting there producing water that is in far excess of what the New Adjournment Township alone needs. And yet, people the battle and the struggle to get water for daily usage by our constituents is everyday battle. So, Speaker, I would like to use this opportunity to urge the government, especially the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resource, to expand this project at least to the nearby township, Amudrase, Atobiase, Apeja, and Praso. I will not ask for much right now, Mr. Speaker. At least if you could extend this project to this community, good start, knowing that in the near future, NDC government, which we anticipate very much in 2025, would come and expand this project to every corner of our constituency. Mr. Speaker, water is fundamental to it's a fundamental human need. And by providing this all-important resource to our people, we are giving them hope and health, especially if you look at the adverse effect of the struggles that women have to go through to get water so that they can take care of their families. Mr. Speaker, the adverse effect, health impact of the struggles that women go through on their health, Mr. Speaker, cannot be overemphasized. And the earlier the key stakeholders in this sector worked in a way that ensures that we meet SDG 6, the better for all of us, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, honorable members. Of statement time. Now, at the commencement of public business, I have here presentation of petitions. Yes, Honorable. Oh, Honorable Minister, I'm sorry. I remember Mr. Speaker saying he will let you be the last speaker. Sorry. Respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to the statements made particularly on the road sector. Whilst congratulating all the makers of the various statements for the brilliance they have exhibited, the Speaker, I would like to strongly associate myself with the statements from Honorable Mensa Woyomi MP for Sapong for making a statement on road safety, whilst Dr. Kingsley Nyakun, Honorable MP for Kwadas, made a strong statement on traffic congestion. Mr. Speaker, what a pleasant coincidence. Just last 2 days, I had the privilege of briefing the Road and Transport Committee when my ministry appeared before them to consider our budget estimates of the establishment of two important committees in my ministry to deal with two major challenges that the ministry faces. And both committees deal with each of these issues being so ably raised in the statements of my two colleagues. One of the committees is to deal with safety by carrying out road audit on all speed ramps across the nation and to ensure that all signages on our highways are in place. The second one is to identify certain specific streets, particularly in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale, and if need be, other regional capitals, about the congestion that we continue to experience in our cities, particularly Kumasi and Accra, for obvious reasons. I'm therefore happy that this has been brought to the fore on the floor of this august House. It therefore encourages my ministry and gives us the confidence that we are on the right path and this House is solidly behind us. Mr. Speaker, even though Honorable Woyome's statement was constituency specific, with your permission, I want to digress a bit to give it national perspective in a jiffy, so for people to appreciate the importance of road safety issues. I want to draw this House, and for that matter the nation's attention, that safety is a shared responsibility. Safety is not only meant for drivers, nor for pedestrians. It's for all of us to the principles of road safety in order to stay safe. If we talk about accidents in our nation, and regrettably so, that in our country last year, 2 accidents claimed almost 100 lives. Our own compatriots. I'm sure members may recall the accident that occurred on the Cape Coast Road last year that claimed almost 50 lives. And another accident that occurred on the Kintampo Road that also claimed almost same number of lives. It's unnecessary, it's unwarranted, and efforts must be made to bring this rate of accidents and the carnage on our roads under control. And my ministry must be in the lead, because that's the ministry charged with the responsibility, together with the Ministry of Transport, through the Road Safety Authority, which has been doing the yeoman's job on education to ensure that our roads are safe for all of us. Mr. Speaker, we must also remember research and evidence clearly show that over 90% of road accidents will be attributed to the human factor. In our country, the more we improve on our roads, the more we make our roads more travelable and comfortable to ride on, the more we spread asphalt overlays, the more we get and record accidents. Because most of our drivers take the opportunity to overspeed on improved roads. Many of our drivers drink drive. Many of drivers overload their vehicles and in the course of traveling lose their balance. Most of our drivers get tired and do not take time off to rest. Most of our drivers don't observe the road signs on the highways, and many of them even don't understand them anyway. Most of our drivers drive rickety vehicles. They don't pay attention even to their tires, and they don't service their vehicles. In a nutshell, Right Honorable Speaker, there's so much indiscipline on our road. So, whilst dealing with this subject, we must take it up to ensure that in our own small ways, particularly even as members of Parliament, as we go through our constituencies and engage our constituents, we must take up the road safety education to supplement the efforts of not only my ministry, but even more important, the work of the Road Safety Authority. Just Honorable Warrior from his district perspective gave a very staggering, frightening statistics of his district recording, that is North South Tongue district, recording 132 accidents in 2020. And by combining injured persons and those who unfortunately died, the district recorded as many as 91 precious lives. Mr. Speaker, just one district recorded these frightening figures. And in our nation, we have 260 districts. And the national statistics as given by the police in conjunction with the Road Safety Authority show that accidents are in ascendancy nationwide. Mr. Speaker, in 2019, those reported, and we know in our country it's not every single accident which is reported, but those in 2019, 13,877 accidents were reported. As many as 13,677 and 2,228 got injured and killed, respectively. In 2020, the accident figure increased from over 13,000 to almost 15,000, 14,886. Those injured increased from 13,600 to 15,577.
and those killed last year reported 2,587. If we go back, we realize that the trend, as I've aforementioned, is on ascendancy. And even the figures released for not yet ended the first quarter of 2021 is even more frightening. And so that it's not like the ministry is not doing anything or government is not doing anything about it. The government has been proactive, the government has been forward-looking, and a lot of things are being put in place. Perhaps it's too late, but better late than never. Almost over 64 years after independence, we have not able, as a nation, to dualize our highways. So we get vehicles confronting each other, and all fatal accidents are as a result of headlong collision of vehicles. Fortunately, this was tackled last year.
Honourable Minister, kindly
thank you, Mr. Speaker.
summarize.
This was tackled last year, and as a policy, all the major vehicles, all the major roads in our country are being dualized. The Accra-Akosombo dualization is on course. There's a contractor on it. The Accra-Kumasi road dualization is on course. And Tema-Aflawo road dualization is also on course with a contractor on it. I believe that if all of us work together, cooperate, and all drivers also cooperate and take advantage of the massive and extensive education being undertaken by the Road Safety Authority, this nation will go places. And to end, Mr. Speaker, I want to also bring to the fore the challenges that we have in the road sector. Many of our people vandalize all the signages that we put on our roads. We live with such people. They vandalize them and sell them as scraps. The nation must help to address this problem. Some criminals go about removing the bolts and nuts from our major bridges. And this country suffered a major bridge collapse last year in the Galu constituency. The steel bridge was very strong, an articulator went on it and it collapsed just because the previous night some criminals had gone onto the bridge and removed all the bolt and nuts. Congestion can only be brought under control if we ourselves are disciplined. There's so much indiscipline. By ending my contribution, all of us in this August House drive around, and we know how pedestrians are suffering because hawkers and traders have taken all the well-built pedestrian lanes and pushing drivers and pedestrians onto the road. All of us must talk about it to ensure that all these facilities are made open and uninterrupted for the smooth running of vehicles, for the safety on our roads. for our country, for ourselves, and our people. I thank all my colleagues for your useful contribution. I will take all of them on board, particularly those dealing with the toll booths and all, so that at the end of the day, we improve safety on our roads and we reduce for these obvious negative attendant problems. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Finally, that is the end of statement time. Yes, Honorable Deputy.
Since Right Honorable Speaker is given first-timers opportunity, and as a first-timer leader, I need to conclude.
Can do what?
I said, since you are given first-timers opportunity today, and as a first-timer leader,
But what were you
I'm pleading to conclude on that.
I was generous. You wait after the minister.
Yes, thank you, all right, Honorable Speaker. I'm just going to be very brief, and I'm going to start on the conclusion notes of the Minister for Roads and Highways. That is indiscipline on our roads. In fact, this one, the issue is for us to be able to have a bipartisan discussion so that we could be able to come to a conclusion as to how we will be able to reduce this road accident. Many a time, the rules and the Constitution have made it clear for how the Road Traffic Act needs to work. The police are doing their best, but we are not helping them as citizens. People driving without seat belts, people driving with handheld mobile phones, people overspeeding. The police need to actually implement the right measures so that all this will be able to reduce accidents on our roads. Mr. Speaker, I will want to also touch a bit on the World Water Day, and the theme for this year World Water Day is valuing water. Mr. Speaker, the value of water is price at the moment, provided what you want to use water for. And if you look at Ghana, for instance, we have over 3 million Ghanaians who are dependent on surface water for survival. And this surface water are mostly polluted. And all kinds of diseases, including cholera, do affect our people by using this. This government, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, have done well in trying to reduce these water problems in our country. As a member of parliament for Tolong, a rural one in the northern region, water is a serious and a big business to me. And the fact that the government been able to bring this small dam or dugout under the one village, one dam policy, even though my constituency benefited, 10 communities benefited. But at the moment, if you go to Tolong, you go to Nyankwala, and other part of my constituency, it's a difficult time for them. And I don't think they will be celebrating today's World Water Day because we are crying or we are in crisis of water. So just to add my voice to what the makers of the statement have done, World Water Day is an important day. It's an important day for us to try to work hard on the SDGs so that by 2030, water will be free and affordable to all Ghanaians. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, now I don't want to change my announcement again, so I want to be sure that this is the last contribution, right? Yeah. Very well. That now brings us to the end of statement time. Commencement of public business. Yes. Leader.
Speaker, may I invite you to allow the chair to the Rules Committee to lay their reports by way of taking item 6, Jane for God, Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minority Chief Whip. The application is to move to item 6, the presentation of G. Yes, 6G.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the chair is around, we will not have any objection. But I can see my ranking. I don't know whether the report is ready.
Very well. Item number 6, presentation of papers. G.
Report of the Committee on Roads and Transport on the annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Railways Development for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly presented for distribution to members. That was right. How about II? Is II ready? Yes.
Report of the Committee on Roads and Transport on the annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly presented. It is for distribution to members. Yes, leader. What next?
Speaker, looking at the time and the circumstance, I may call for adjournment tomorrow. Your kindness.
Very well. Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Well, Mr. Speaker, since there are no other further business, definitely we should be under your care since it's past 2 o'clock.
Very well, honourable members. The House is accordingly adjourned till.
Mr. Speaker, we have some reports to lay, and with your permission.
Yes, Honourable.
Speaker, ordinarily I wouldn't do this, but I want to plead with my colleague and practice of the House. The chair should have given us indication. I think it's an afterthought, and I want to plead for your kindness and indulgence if they could be allowed to just lay the report.
Very well. Yes, Honourable Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, we're looking at.
we have the deputy ranking on our side. That says that the report is not ready. And please, the chair, the report is not ready. And the chair should learn to know that
so that we can take
he needs to inform leadership about this much earlier.
Chairman of the committee.
So that we will do the necessary consultation. But I have the deputy ranking who is telling me the report is not ready for it to be laid. So it's better it's done tomorrow morning. The deputy ranking says it's not ready.
Chair, upon a further consultation, I think we can shelve it to tomorrow, Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, the House is adjourned till Tuesday, 23rd March,
But it's okay. We will lay all of
2021 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.